Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Small Biz Diaries. And as always, I'm so happy and thankful to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to introduce our guest, Luzy King, for Chapter 15. Her episode is all about redefining success in your business and how she turned financial struggles into wealth education. Her journey is an inspiring story of resilience, empowerment, and redefining what success looks like. After leaving what she thought was her dream career in hospitality management, she returned to school and discovered the concept of generational wealth. Now, that's just the beginning of her story. She truly understands the cultural and societal barriers faced by first-gen Latinas, and she brings a holistic, trauma-informed approach to wealth education. Lucy combines her experience with a personal passion for financial education, and she's here to share her incredible story, journey, and the powerful lessons she's learned along the way. Let's dive into Chapter 15 with Luzy King. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Small Biz Diaries. I'm super excited to be here and grateful for everyone tuning in. I'm here today, as you guys know, with Lucy from Say Hola Wealth. I'm happy to have you here, Lucy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for those of you that are listening or for those of you that watch. Thank you for being here.
Yes, we love it. Today's theme and chapter theme will be redefining success in your business and how Lucy turned financial struggles into wealth education with Say Hola Wealth. So I'm super excited to kind of have Lucy share her topic and just her journey through Say Hola Wealth, how all of that kind of like unfolded to be where she is today. And so I'd love to start off, Lucy, if you could take us back to before Say Hola Wealth even existed, right? How did all of that journey with financial education and financial wealth start for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started in 2019 when I decided to leave my corporate career. I had been working in the hospitality industry for more than 17 years. So I started working for this company when I was very young. So I was in high school. And what prompted me to even apply for this job was my desire to break cycles. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, I was really a cycle breaker since I was young. And so I wanted to have money to buy shoes so I could join the running team in my high school. And during that time, my family and I were financially struggled. And I almost feel like it will take a lot for me to go to my mom and say, hey, mom, I need your help like buying these running shoes.
Mhm.
Because I knew that we were financially struggling. And so working in the hospitality industry was almost like my childhood dream. And so I decided to go and apply for a job. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to go apply for the job and I'm going to become a manager. And I'm so young at that point, right? And so I ended up going into the hotel, applying for the job. And the job that was available was as a housekeeper. And they said, yeah, we're looking for housekeepers. You can only work part time because of your age. It will be on the weekends and we will take it from there. And so I was so eager to just start earning my own money. And I said, absolutely, sign me up. Little did I know that that job meant that I needed to be cleaning 25 rooms within the time frame of 7 to 8 hours. And it was physically challenging, but it taught me so much. And I always say, like, I'm very proud of that version of myself because she brought me to where I am today. And so I climbed the corporate ladder. I was always like that mentality of hustling, like I have to get to the next level. But when it comes to finances and money, I didn't really have a blueprint to follow other than you work hard for money. You have to always have this scarcity of there's never enough. And so I was managing big budgets for the company. But when it came to my personal finances, I had zero knowledge of how to do things. Even though I was making good money, I was always on this mindset of like, you only live once, like solo se vive una vez. Like you have to work for money, you have to spend it, and then we'll see tomorrow. And especially because I grew up low income, and there was always the part of like, we don't have money for that, right? So now that I was earning money, I was very much like, well, me lo merezco, and I have to get it. And 2019 completely changed my mindset around money when I left the company and I had less than $2,000 saved in a checking account, and I was soon to be a mom. And I was like, what am I going to do? So that's how I started 2019.
Yeah, wow. And also how much of like those like limiting beliefs it sounds like you were around specifically around money was were surfacing during that time, right? That you didn't even realize were impacting your journey. that to me, I think is part of the process in terms of like unpacking, what it is specifically about money that may be stopping you from like moving forward. So then when it comes to that time in your life, what was like success defined as? Like, were you thinking, oh, I just need to make this much more money because that's what you thought, success was for you? Or how did you even think about that concept?
Oh, absolutely. Version of Lucy 2019 and before was success is the typical American dream, the blueprint that our parents, in a way, really like push us to pursue. Right? Go to college, have an education, have a 401k, work for somebody else until you are 65 years old. And if you're lucky, you're going to have time to go and explore the world. So I was very much following the blueprint, and it came with a lot of mental and physical sacrifice. And once I was at the top, I was like, this can be it. Like, I did not go to college to work for these. I have not been taking care of myself because I was very much into like working out, but like mentally, I was exhausted from being on this treadmill called the American dream. And I realized like this can't be, there has to be another way. And so now the version of 2024, which is the time when we're recording this podcast, she believes that success is really unlearning all of the conditioning to work hard for money and really learning to utilize the tools to start investing, start making work optional, go after your dreams, become creative again, have time to just explore the world and find yourself, like your purpose. I'm very big into that, and money can help us do that.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that when you take all those layers back, there's just so much more to uncover and so much more potential that you can have within your life, within your business, within, family, friends, being able to provide more. But oftentimes we don't really realize how much of that, those limiting beliefs are really limiting, actually limiting us from getting to that next step financially. And so when you were going through all of those, that process for yourself, where you were like, wow, I didn't realize, how much more there is out there. When did you realize that this was something that you wanted to do not only for yourself, but as a business?
When I will never forget this moment, and that was when my former boss at that time, I disclosed my pregnancy, and he told me, you have become a problem with the company. You're one of those women in the company with a problem. And that comment literally broke me to like pieces. I was just like in shock. Like, how is it possible that someone who saw me as a leader now is telling me that I'm a problem? And his words brought back a lot of the money wounds and the financial trauma that I didn't know I had, because I've never heard of the word financial trauma. I've never even heard of like financial literacy. And so that's when I knew that it was time for me to start the next chapter of my life. And of course, that came with a lot of fear, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of inner work, because when you work for a company and you give them your all and you just love and you think that, oh my God, I'm living my purpose, I'm living my dream career, so much of that gets tied to your identity. So for me, my identity was I was a hotel manager. I was a hospitality leader. I didn't know who Luzy King was until after I decided to leave this company. And oh boy, have I learned so much about mindset. Have I learned so much about failure? Have I learned so much about redefining success? And most importantly, have I learned to just be okay with saying like, I am great at what I do and now I look confident. But there was a period of time where I was like, I didn't know who I was. And I have to go back to find that version of myself who is creative, who loves to talk, because I love talking, the version of myself who loves community over competition. And so I have to really come back to like using the moment of failure, because that's what it was for me. Someone telling me that I wasn't good enough because I had become a mother, going myself through the process of it feels awful. I cry, and then learning, okay, what can I learn from all of this? And also getting curious of, why does it hurt so much? Why does it hurt so much when someone tells you that you have become a problem for the company? And a lot of people and a lot of your listeners right now, they're afraid to go through the process of finding why they feel uncomfortable. But in the process of feeling uncomfortable, you will learn so many things about yourself that are going to help you just launch the next version of yourself, whatever that is.
Yeah, so it was after that that you were like, okay, maybe because of this, feeling that I'm getting, right, from no longer seeing Lucy King in corporate as your identity, you started asking yourself like, oh, well, what else? Like, what else can I do? How else can I like present myself in the world? Did you always think you were going to be like a small business owner, entrepreneur, or was it just kind of like, yeah, walk us through that.
To be honest, no,
Yeah.
because I grew up watching my mom having a lot of failed businesses. And now reflecting back on why she had so many failed businesses was because she didn't have the financial literacy aspect of it. Because she knew how to do marketing, she knew how to launch things, she knew how to sell food, she knew how to do all kinds of things. But when it came to managing her finances, she didn't know that. And so entrepreneurship never even crossed my mind. I was like, I'm gonna work for somebody, I'm gonna help somebody build their dreams. And then that's it. Entrepreneurship wasn't even something that I wanted at all. And so what happens is after I left my corporate career, I was just on this path of like finding myself. And I've always liked school. I'm one of those people that even my friends make fun of me, like, you can be in school for your whole life and you're fine. And for me, it's not about the certifications or the credentials, it's just the knowledge. Like, I love to learn. And so I decided to put myself into school to earn my master's program. Through the process, that's how I learned about investing and generational wealth. And I was just in this like aha moment of like, what happened? Like, how come this is not being taught to communities of color? How come I don't know about these? And that's when I learned, like, my mother doesn't know these. Like, no wonder she had so many failed businesses. No wonder she doesn't know the importance of savings and investing, like all of these. And so I dove into really learning a lot of the language, like, how can I make it simple so I understand it? At this point, I'm not even thinking about my community. I'm just kind of being like, how can I understand these concepts? Because they were hard to understand and digest. And so I started using my creative brain that no longer needed to be like, submissive or being told that it's not okay to do that kind of stuff because that's how we're perceiving corporate America. And then I started getting creative and I learned the language and I was like, wow, what can I do? And so I dove deep into like my personal finances and I started having conversations with my husband. Hey, we can pay off our student loan day in this time. We can start investing. And I'm so excited and just sharing everything with him. And he's like, whoa, it seems like you have a lot going on. So why don't you just start like baby steps and then we can see where this goes? The same year, I went and I was seeking financial advice. So after we paid off $220,000 in a student loan debt, I wanted to start the next step of whatever that class was teaching me at that moment, which was start investing, make your money work for you. And then I was faced with two people closing doors on me and saying, we cannot help you because you don't have $100,000 to start investing. And then I was like, well, soy cabeza dura, because I'm like, I don't take no. So I'm going to go find another person who can help me. The second person told me the same thing. And then I asked him, out of curiosity, how many clients do you have that are Latina or women of color or people of color? And she said, none. And I said, can I ask why? And they're like, I just don't seek those demographics. And that's when I knew that I wanted to do something. I didn't know it was going to be Say Hola Wealth, but that's like almost like the little fire in my belly, as my coach calls it. And I was like, I'm going to do something so I can teach my community how to let go of this scarcity and how to turn that into wealth creation.
Yeah, no, thank you for walking us through that journey because I think it's so transparent that you were really just like following what for you at the time felt like you needed to do. Like you said, not even for everybody else, but just for yourself as an advocate for yourself. But then you realized through that process that there's other people that are not also just as much as you, not getting that education, not getting those insights that will help them with their financial literacy, financial, like all those things that anybody should be able to get access to and or have the ability to do. So I love when that happens almost like naturally, right? Where you're just going through the flow and realizing how much it's needed as a business, as a product, as a service, so that people can benefit from those things. So then, with that being said, when you started to talk to family or friends, what did you see as like the biggest hurdle within financial literacy, or people wanting to take more control over their finances? Like, what was the hurdle that you saw?
Surprisingly enough, it wasn't money or the math. Because a lot of people think like, oh, I don't want to look at my finances because I'm not good with math, or things like that that we hear. And what I found, and even today after coaching so many people, is the cultural beliefs around money, specifically for Latino communities, are the biggest weight that we carry, because we believe that money is evil. We believe that if we want more money, we're going to be seen as money hungry. We also have this relationship with the scarcity where we feel like, well, I don't want to have more money, because if I have more money, then I'm going to take resources from others. But at the same time, our community is being taught to oversave for the rainy day, right? So how is that not being also part of a scarcity when you're just hoarding resources because you're afraid that you're not going to be ready? And so one of the things that I do is I work with people so much on that relationship with money. I call it get to the root. Like, let's get to the root of how our money beliefs are created. And then in our community, of course, there's so much baggage, like money's corrupt, and I can keep adding to it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest lesson that I've learned. And once I start seeing the pattern, then I was like, okay, I don't need to talk about how to invest. I actually need to talk about how to rewrite your money beliefs. And that's one of the things that has been my biggest marketing strategies, where I don't even tell people this is how you invest. I just talk about the cultural aspect of, hey, money does not make you a bad person. And then people are like, oh my god, hold on, I have the same feeling. And so yeah, because 99% of the decisions that we make are actually emotional rather than numbers. And so we have to understand that. And once we understand that money is very emotional, and also be okay with it, right? Because we also have to jump the hurdle of, in our community, like, we don't welcome emotions. We're like, you have to be tough, can't cry, you have to suck it up, you have to keep going, versus understanding that no, money is emotional. And there are times when you're going to feel angry, when you're going to feel sad, when you're going to feel afraid, when you're going to feel anxious. And it's learning how to manage those money making emotions, so you can say, I can be a wealth builder, and I will be a wealth builder, and I am the cycle breaker.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that especially with those beliefs, it's a step of like realizing they no longer serve you. Like maybe at some point in your life, you needed to feel that scarcity or like feel that sense of like protection over your money, but not only with like the context of what's happening in your life now, but there might be something that no longer serves you when it comes to your beliefs around money. So it's important to realize that and like let go and say, okay, all right, it's time to let go of this and realize that no longer serves me. So let's replace that with like, I welcome abundance to my life, or like things that will help shift that mindset around money. And then I think it's important to note too that like I feel like a lot of people attach like success to money. Like they have that specific mentality that like, my business, or this is not successful if I'm not reaching this amount of money.
Years.
Yeah, but it's so not true. I think both of those, that combination of like limiting beliefs but then also redefining your success, is such a key, redefining that word success and what that means for you, such a key component of just that financial breakdown or financial wealth breakdown. Would you
Yeah.
say that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. We can go on the reaching the goal of like, I want to earn six figures in corporate, or I can't wait to hit six figures in my business. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 or 1,000,000. If you don't know how to manage $100, you're always gonna feel like there isn't enough. Now as a business owner, there has been times when I decide like, okay, am I really chasing the another like rat race of like, I have to hit six figures? And I have now with my business, but also it's like, how can I make more money but at the same time work less and less on my business? And with entrepreneurship, our income is so inconsistent, right? Like it comes and goes and things like that. And so you also understanding, how can I create for my business so my business can make money when I'm not earning money. For example, like for small business owners, if you guys are watching, like start investing with $50. Sometimes we wait for the big chunks of money, like, oh, if I have 1,000, or I'm gonna wait until I hit the lunch, and all of this narrative that is not serving you versus saying, no, I'm just gonna start investing with $50, and that's more than enough right now.
When I hear that, even just for myself, I think sometimes the word investing can be intimidating. Oh, like you're investing your money, but not really understanding what that means. What would you say to someone that's intimidated by that?
Yeah, I think the first step is understanding that investing is everyone's birthright. Like you can invest anywhere in the world. And so that is the number one thing. The second thing is that investing is not gambling. A lot of people are afraid of investing because they think that investing is gambling because they market investing. Sometimes people think, oh my God, I have to be trading stocks, which means selling stocks by the hour. I don't teach that. There's people that do that. It's too risky for me and no thank you, right? So investing is when you put your money to work with the expectation of a positive return in the future. Now, the future is not when you're 60 or when you're 70. The future can be 5 years from today, 10, 15, 20. And also, when it comes to investing, there's a couple more things to understand. One is diversification, meaning that you're not going to put all of your money into one single stock, for the lack of a better word. You're not going to be like, I love you, company, and I'm going to give you my money. Because when you are a beginner, you're not going to make that the move because it is kind of risky. What you're going to do is you're going to put your money in a small amounts, for example, $50, $100. And what you're doing is you're buying a basket of stocks, meaning you buy a little bit of everything. The way I like to explain it is when you go to the farmer's market or the bodega or the grocery store, whatever it is that you do, you don't just go to buy carrots or apples, right? You go and buy a little bit of every vegetable, and you're like, okay, now I have a variety of vegetables. That's what investing is when you diversify. And so investing is, and the funny thing, Esperanza, about investing is that it's so simple. Like when I'm teaching people how to invest, and I'm like, okay, here's how you buy your first basket of stocks. And then I show them, right? Because I'm an educator, I show them, okay, this is how you do it. And they go like, that's it? I'm like, that's it. And I'm like, no, it can't be that, right? Because we are conditioned to believe that in order for us to earn money, it has to come with the mental and physical sacrifice.
Yeah, and even just showing someone the possibilities, right, opens up those doors. So then, when it came to your financial journey, how would you say that that helped you with Say Hola Wealth, like being able to teach it to others? Now you're speaking about it at events, like what how do you think that has helped you to where you are now?
Oh my goodness. So when the pandemic hit, that's when I decided to go full-time entrepreneur into becoming a financial educator and a speaker because I saw the headlines of Latinas are losing their jobs without having a secure emergency fund. And to me, that just blew my mind. Not only because I had just learned about my own financial struggles, but also seeing how our community has so much economic power. Yet, when it comes to being let go of any job, we're the first ones to go. And I was like, I'm not okay with this. In fact, I was crying because I was so angry about it. And I'm watching people on the TV people that I don't even know, by the way. But I was just so upset about this concept of we work so hard. We drive the economy. Why is it possible that we are the first ones to go? And so I decided to start volunteering. That's how my business started. I started volunteering in my community, knocking on doors like, hey, I am a financial educator. Here's what I want to do. And a lot of people said no. They said, no, sorry, we can't have that here, not in this town, not in this region. And I had two options. Option one was I can cry about it and continue to build wealth all alone. Or option two, I can take my business where there's no restrictions and I can teach other people how to do it. And for me, the no restriction was I have to launch an online business. And that's the first time I learned that like in my business has to be online because I want to reach more people. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I've never been on camera, like talking, interviewing. I didn't even know how to use Instagram at that point to go live or stories or none of that, right? Like I remember showing up on social media and my arms were like up to my ears because I was just so afraid of like, oh my God, people are gonna watch me. How embarrassing. And it came down to my mission, which is I want us to reclaim financial prosperity. And so that's when I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have fun while I'm doing it, but also it has to come with a bigger mission than me just becoming the six-figure entrepreneur, without me becoming, oh my God, Lucy is a founder, because my business is not about me whatsoever. It might look like it's about me because I am the one talking about my personal experience building wealth. But this community and everything that I create is for people that truly want to become the cycle breakers.
I appreciate you because the limiting beliefs that you mentioned, or like the specific insecurities that you mentioned while you were going through the process, right? Of feeling like I'm going to show up on camera, I've never done this before. Those are all real things that happen throughout the process that people don't see as often, because obviously they see the end product of you being on camera. So they're like, "Oh, Lucy's great. Like she's on camera, someone's not really thinking like, oh, she overcame so much by just showing up on camera or opening up her online business, or having this show up. Like they're not really seeing all those behind the scenes. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that's kind of what led you to where you are now. And obviously, as entrepreneurs and small business owners, it's not something that goes away per se. Things come up still all the time where you get imposter syndrome, or you feel like maybe intimidated by something. So,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And imposter syndrome comes all the time,
Yeah.
right? When you launch your program, when you launch your offer, when you launch your podcast, when you get the email that says, "Hey, would you like to come and speak at a conference?" And you're like, "Me?" Like, "Oh, excuse me, like did they send the email to the wrong person?" But it's learning how to manage that. And also, I mean, at least for me, what has worked very well is knowing that when I'm going to talk in front of people, I'm not there for me. I'm not there to be like, oh my God, I'm the star of the show. Because when I am in front of people, I'm looking at the stars. I am looking at the stars. People are not looking at the star. Like I'm looking at every single person that is in attendance. And I'm like, my God, they're the cycle breakers. Like if I have 500 people here, five people are going to take action. And to me, that just makes me even more excited to continue to show up, because I don't need to change. I don't need to change the world. I need to change one person. I need to help two people. Like I'm like very, very mindful on like those micro steps. And so my goal is never to change like the whole city. It's like, no, if I can help 10 people today or 20 people this year, I'm doing something good.
I love that you brought that up, because I think it's so something that I think gets taken for granted sometimes, because you see a lot of people that either have unattainable goals, or they put a lot of pressure on themselves to do something that isn't taking in consideration the micro steps that are needed for them to get there. The impact, no matter how small, is impact, right? Like you're helping someone. So I just think it's so important to highlight, and I'm glad you said that. When it comes to where you are now, obviously we've talked about this. Small Biz Diaries is all about like peeling back the layers and really showcasing the behind the scenes of just like obstacles we go through as entrepreneurs, as small business owners. So what would you say is something that you're struggling with right now as a business owner that you'd love to share?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I struggle with is I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very easy to just be like, but I have to do more, but I have to create more. And so, it has been hard for me to have the boundary of I have to prioritize myself. And so, I intentionally block time to go work out. I'm also in therapy. So, I'm a big advocate of like therapy. Whenever I have transitions within my business. So, for example, right now I'm writing a book. It's titled Cash Libre and it's coming out 2026. That is a big goal, right? Like that's a very audacious goal. So, whenever I'm going to life transitions such as these, like writing a book, I know that I need to have the emotional support that I need to help me navigate the imposter syndrome, maybe that I just want to write the book, like because I'm very much like task oriented. And so for me, making sure that I come back to understanding that like if I don't prioritize my health, there's not going to be book. if I don't go work out, I'm not going to be like healthy and ready to move when I need to. And so that has been one of the biggest struggles when it comes to growing my business is I have to make time. Like I told you at the beginning of the podcast, like I'm going to go work out after I'm done with recording the podcast, because if I don't tell someone, I won't do it. And so I'm big on that. Like I text my family, hey, I'm gonna go work out, just because I just, even me just saying that like motivates me to say, okay, I really need to get it done. The other struggle that I faced since launching Say Hola Wealth is also understanding that not everyone wants to see you succeed. And you can work so hard for your business, and one day somebody just comes and borrows your idea and your framework and they relabel it and make it yours, and that feels like a big struggle, right? Like when you work so hard for something and then your work gets stolen or taken away. So that has been hard for me, but now I'm like, I don't care if people borrow my work. That means that I am so creative, right? That means that they are not creative. That means that they really see me as a creative person. And so I have to let go of that belief that, oh my God, I can't put things out there because what if people steal it from me? Right. So I'm just like, no, like I'm healing all around, and it doesn't matter. If somebody takes something, I will come back with a better framework.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. You said one thing that stood out specifically. I think as small business owners, we don't realize how often you're going through your own, like, learning about yourself and seeing how you react to things that come up when things come up for your business. And it's a journey. Like, it's a journey not only as a small business owner, but as within personal growth as well. And you mentioning that you know that you like to do a lot and there's a lot that you end up taking on. You know that during big transitions, that's what you have to do specific things to make sure of this. So it's almost like you're like, okay, Lucy, I do this when things happen because, again, you know how you've done the work to know, like, this is how I am. So what can I do to be proactive about this when
Yeah.
this inevitably comes up later on? So it's just so, I think that's such a key component to highlight because it's so true. We're intertwined with our business, right? Inevitably so. There is some kind of intertwinement within our own self journey, personal growth, and the growth of your business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it was such an important thing to highlight, that you recognize that about yourself and you're like, okay, let me be proactive.
Yeah. And, especially as entrepreneurs, we're so passionate about helping people. Like, innately, like, we are very much like, I just want to help everyone. And the most beautiful thing that you can do for your business is take care of yourself. Like, I go on vacation all the time with my husband and my two girls. And so, one of the things that I do is I block time intentionally to be away from my business too. And so, like, right now I'm looking at my calendar, 2025, 2026, I already have dates blocked, because if I don't do that, then I will be canceling the family vacation, that I won't show up for my daughter's like Mother's Day rehearsal or whatever, because it has happened to me, right?
Mm.
It has happened where I forget to put a day on the calendar, and then I book a speaking engagement, and then my nanny's like, "Mommy, are you coming to my Mother's Day dance?" And I'm like, "What?" Right? And so it's knowing what is important to you. Yes, growing a business is important. Yes, helping our community is also important. But if you don't prioritize you, how can you fill somebody else's cup when yours is empty?
Yeah, no, it's beautifully said. And I think that everybody's situation looks very different, right? So you have to figure out what works best for you in those scenarios. And I think the last question that I'd love to ask you, and I just appreciate all the little tidbits that you've shared. It's been so helpful, I think, not only from a financial, like, health wealth perspective, someone listening to this and saying, oh, interesting, I didn't know that about investing, or I didn't realize that I had more power within the realm of my finances. Aside from that, your journey as a small business owner within your own financial struggles and how you kind of pivoted those to realize that there was just an opportunity to impact and serve other people within this space is just so inspirational. So I do want to thank you and appreciate you sharing all that you shared. But my last question for you is, what advice would you give to someone that wants to start looking at their finances, right? I think that even just the topic of sharing about your finances can be very scary and vulnerable, because you might not be used to talking about that kind of stuff, of how much you have in the bank and all of this. You might not know what you don't know, all of these different things about finances. So where would you suggest someone to start if they were thinking about it?
I always say dream big. Don't make it about money. Think about what kind of life do you want to have, right? Because if we focus on the scarcity and the limitations of what we don't have or how we feel, we're never going to take action. So, step number one, design your dream life. It sounds kind of silly, but it totally works. Like, I remember thinking, man, one day I want to have a beautiful house. I want to retire like at 45. I want to do all of these things. And those things were just a dream. I remember even writing, I want to hire someone to come and clean my house so I can be a full time coach. And even the feeling of writing that down feel like, oh my God, is it going to happen? And so start there. The second step is if you are not comfortable talking about money or even looking at your numbers, it's because you are a byproduct of your environment, meaning that you don't have the community to help you, to elevate you, to say, hey, Lucy, Esperanza, look at how empowering it can be to look at your numbers. Look how simple investing can be. And even when you set a boundary with a loved one, your family member, you're like, hey, I can't keep giving you money anymore. Like, this is not okay. But when you have a community behind you that says, hell yeah, great job setting the boundary, telling your dad or your brother or la vecina that you're no longer letting them borrow money before you prioritize your goals, that's so good. So find that community, and we thrive in community. We know that already. And so when I'm helping people, I have a group which is the Say Hola Wealth Academy, and people, when they're there, they celebrate each other so much. And we talk about everything from small businesses to like, hey, my partner has like the biggest scarcity mindset, and I don't know what to do with him or with
Mm.
her. Right. And so we talk about that. So those conversations are normalized. Just how we talk about, hey, did you see the thing on Instagram? Hey, did you see the TikTok that talks about this? Like, that's normal. And so imagine what you can create when you are in a community where we talk about money without any like taboos, without any like, oh my gosh, ¿qué va a pensar la gente? Like, what are people going to think? Right. And so don't do those two things. Dream big, create your dream life, and then find the community. Find the community that is going to help you get to the next level.
No, mic drop. O sea, no, me encantó todo. I love that there's a community out there that is doing this, and I'm going to leave all of Lucy's information in the description so you can connect with her, or if you want to find out more about Say Hola Wealth Academy. But is there anything else that you'd love to share in terms of like maybe upcoming things you have going on or anything? I know you mentioned a couple tidbits. You dropped your book hint in there, but anything else that you'd want to share about how people can connect with you?
Yeah, so people can connect with me on the sayholawealth.com website. I also have a podcast, Say Hola Wealth. And, I am big on meeting people that share values. And that's also another way to think about how can I break this cycle is finding the people that share your values. We no longer need to be code switching or thinking that we're not Latina enough to make money and all of these things, because when you find the community, you're going to feel seen. And the other thing that I want to share is our money has power. And if you truly want to help our community, you have to become wealthy, because nothing bad happens when a Latina or BIPOC have money, because we love to help our community. And so when the book comes out, of course, I would love to circle back with you. So for a collaboration, things like that. But absolutely, like, find the resources. The resources are there. And I'm opening doors to the academy in October 6th. I'm not sure when the podcast will come live, but I'm here to help. So reach out.
Yeah, no, you'll people listening will have an opportunity since it'll be in October. So I love that. And yeah, I think that the everything that you shared, if someone's listening and if you're thinking, I've had that thought, I've had that thought that says that if I get wealthy, I'm a bad person, or I'm going to be too overwhelmed, or I'm not going to focus on family because I'm so, so wealthy. There's so many other beliefs, right? But if any of these things resonated with you, I just encourage you guys to connect with Lucy, but then also just self-reflect, make sure you're thinking about your lifestyle that you want to create, all the things that we mentioned, and find actionable ways to get started with those micro steps, make it a little small step to kind of start getting that motion going for your financial health, wealth, all the things. So Thank you so much, Lucy. I appreciate all of your time and everything. I know we're both going to the gym after this, so we're prioritizing ourselves. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I also want to make time to thank you for the work that you're doing with your podcast, because we need more raw conversations about entrepreneurship and especially small businesses. So thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate that.